What is up, my ninjas? I am Strident, and welcome to my most fun and most disappointing toys of 2016. 2016 was great for collectors. There was so much to choose from, and I feel like because of this, I have to start with my most disappointing. Now remember, I made a switch to only collect and only review the stuff I love. So if something was disappointing, it just means that it didn't quite hit the mark 100%. It doesn't mean that it sucks. It doesn't mean that it's a piece of shit. Not in all cases. There are a couple cases on this list in the most disappointing area where they failed bad enough to piss me off. Now, keep in mind with my list, these are all figures that I purchased in 2016. Some of them are from 2016, and other figures are from, years before, and I just happened to come across them, when I did. Now, with all that being said, let's get this party started. Now, we only have 5, so we're going to start with number 5 for the most disappointing. The Funko Legacy Magic the Gathering. These guys were disappointing for me because they had everything that I love about the sword and sandals genre. You had, the nice array of fantasy characters. They're colorful, they're well designed. It's just QC issues threw everything off. I had to buy 3 Jace Balerins, 2 Chandra Nilars, 2 of what's his name, Gareth Wildspeaker. I mean, it just was dumb. And then we had to chop things off of Ajani Goldmane, and it's like you don't want to have to do that kind of stuff just to get play out of these figures. They use some of the wrong materials for some of the parts, so it's really hard to get them to do basic stuff. So yeah, this one was a disappointment for me. The Marvel Legends Captain America line, what was that, Infinite series? I was pissed about this figure. I mean, the fuck are these? It was like on the surface you had such a great figure, but then you just half-assed things that you didn't need to half-ass because you did it right before. That's what really pissed me off. And the problems with this release are not problems that they're not things that you can't fairly easily fix if you have the right resources, meaning if you collect Legends, you probably have the parts necessary to just make this guy serviceable, like the straps off of the Return of Marvel Legends cap. That's the main thing you need to fix this, and throw away the stupid Cap Wolf head, and then you've got a serviceable Captain America figure. He looks the part. I mean, granted, he is missing some of the very necessary paint applications, like chainmail. They didn't even sculpt that in. So anyway, I was disappointed with this guy. Motu Classics, New Adventures of He-Man, Mira of Primus. This one hurt my heart because you look at the figure and this is a beautiful figure. I love her musculature, I love her stature, I love the type of armor, the way they took a corny design from that lame-ass show and made her badass. I love her weapon, the paint apps are awesome on this for the most part. There's just one glaring piece of detail that just jacked this figure up for me. It made me kind of like, man, and that's these damn eyes. I mean, what the serious fuck? Looking like Tiny Zeus Lister and shit. Funko Legacy Firefly line. Now this line I had super high hopes for because, looking at them, they look awesome, right? But as soon as you start moving them around, that's when all the issues start happening. You have QC issues, you have issues with sculpt and proportions, and you didn't include River. So you gave us the majority of the cast. Even though I like Wash, I would have rather had River because that would be the crew that actually does something, or give me Book and then River instead of Wash and Kaylee. But this line had issues with paint chipping off, issues with build quality of figures because I had to send back my Zoe because this is the first time in a long time I just bought the whole wave. And apparently it wasn't good enough to warrant a second wave so we could get the figures that we didn't get. And it's kind of a shame because I feel like they would have fixed what was wrong with it. But any way you slice it, this was a huge disappointment for me. I was looking forward to these guys for so long and they just missed the mark, you know? Now, honorable mentions. There's a couple honorable mentions because, you know, I only had a few of these for disappointing. The Power Rangers Legacy line, the 6-inch Legacy line, or 7-inch Legacy line. They shat on Jason and they made Tommy the star. Everyone else needs their weapons, they don't have them. That's lame. And then we have the Mythic Legions line. Now, this line, the figure itself is not so disappointing. I mean, there were some little issues with him holding his weapons. You know, the axe handle is too big, so if you put the axe in his hands and then take it out and then try to put the sword, he can't hold the sword unless you do the hot water, cold water treatment and whatnot. The problem I have with the line is that it's overhyped and it's super overpriced. And I had waited so long to get into them, and I was thinking once I get this figure, it would push me over the edge to get me to buy more. And, you know, all the shit that was going on with this line and the way the fans just eat it up so fast and the horsemen just don't replenish, no. And my number one most disappointing figure is the fucking Arkham Knight 2.0, I think is what he was called. This figure sucks ass so hard, it's ridiculous. And then it comes back for seconds. He can't hold his gun properly. He only comes with the rifle, so you need to be able to, you know, hold it with two hands. He just can't do it. I mean, this is what it should look like. I use Dutch because Dutch is a soldier, you know? This is what it looks like if you try to make him hold it right. And there's just no excuse for that. In this day and age, why, you know? It's just complete laziness. And to think that there were so many ranting and raving reviews, super positive reviews about this figure, about how good the sculpt is, the colors, and it just shows you what kind of things, quote unquote, collectors are, you know, interested in. You know, it looks the part, but that's it. He can't do shit else. All of the articulation is hindered by something, with the exception of his ab crunch. Oh, and his knees, I'm sorry. Double jointed knees, that's it. Kicking, forget about it. He can't kick worth a fucking damn. It was frustrating because, you know, this right here was kind of like an extra. This is one of the figures I got from DC Collectibles. I was actually looking forward to this one, you know? They didn't tell me they were sending this particular figure, but he just can't do anything, you know? So I was frustrated. When I got him, I'm like, are you kidding me? I can't even make him sit down? I mean, look at this. That's him sitting down. You don't know how much I had to do to balance him to sit down because he barely can move his legs. Look at Arthas. Arthas is bigger than him. He's got all kinds of shit. Look at that big cod piece in the belt that's sitting in front of his legs. And he can still cop a squat because they used the right materials and they gave him the right range of motion. They didn't even sculpt enough clearance for the Arkham Knight to lift his legs properly to sit the right way. That is the extent, the full extent of a forward raise of his leg. Whereas Arthas has that big ass belt and everything. I don't have him slightly shifted, and that's how high he can lift with all that armor and whatnot. Side kicks, forget about it. It's just, they shouldn't have done some of the stuff they did. You know what I mean? And for a game that's in the Batman universe, and you know, the Bat family are all about agility and speed and, you know, martial prowess, and this guy can barely move his legs forward. It just doesn't make sense, you know? It's a must that your Batman figures be freaking posable, because the one thing that Batman and his people do is they fight. You need to be able to put them into martial arts type poses, and this guy, he fails hard. Like, wholeheartedly excels at failing. So, fuck this figure. This figure was terrible. It pissed me off so bad. Ugh, man. And now for the most fun. We need that after the last one. Number 10. The majority of the Marvel Legends that I acquired last year. last year was a great year for Marvel Legends. It's as if they actually started to focus on things that we actually were saying, you know? I'm really hard on Marvel Legends because you know me, I love the movie stuff and I love my X-Men. And they weren't giving us very much of either. There's still some things I gotta pick up. I gotta get my Doctor Strange figures and stuff, but they gave us such a nice variety. I mean, this kitty is beautiful. We finally got a rogue, like a substantial rogue. She just looks amazing. We finally just got things that a lot of us have been asking for so long, you know, and that when we got it, it didn't count. You know what I'm saying? It was so bad that it almost didn't count. So it's like, hey, give us this. And some of the stuff is just retreads in some ways, like the Wolverine figure. And he fits though, you know, the things they gave him, the little bits of posability, the removable claws, even though it's unnecessary because they gave us extra hands that don't have the claws, the overall figure and the look of the figure is just on point. And not to mention Miles Morales is an awesome fucking figure. I mean, like, this Miles has really good articulation like that. It was not assisted by anything. That's just the figure balancing on its own weight. That's awesome. You know, it's what I always wanted with a Spider-Man figure, and they finally did it. So I imagine that the Peter Parker of the same line with the, you know, skinnier body can do the same thing. So, you know, props to Hasbro for that. Not to mention the Falcon. We finally got a Marvel Legends scale Falcon. You know, not that the Select was so bad, he just was huge. But yeah, these were all win. Pursuit of Cobra Recondo. This was a figure I was looking at for a long time, and then I forgot about him. And I happened to come across him again last year, and I was really happy about it. He just embodies a lot of what I miss about G.I. Joes from this era. He has everything that harkens back to the original figure, from the hat, the mustache, you know, some of his weapons, and then he's completely new in design. I just fucking love it. Talk about a gem. This figure is so much fun, and it's not expensive, and it looks amazing, and he came with so much. I mean, this one, dude, you just need to get it. Plain and simple. If you find him, get it. NECA Ultimate God of War 3 Kratos. Quality figure. I bought him twice. The first time I had a QC issue. The second time is what you see here, and it's amazing. So if you don't have any QC issues, there's no reason why you shouldn't already have this bad boy in the collection. He's awesome. NECA's various Terminator figures and lines over the last year. You'll see another trend is that over the last year, I spent a lot of time, a lot of money, searching out these figures. And these are some of the best figures NECA has produced. The sculpts are amazing. The articulation is really well done. They didn't really leave anything out. You know what I mean? And I haven't had issues with any of them. I haven't had to return any of them for QC stuff. You know, knock on wood. Just everything worked with these guys. The likenesses are so. I mean, look at Byung-Hai Lee. He looks just like him. Look at freaking Robert Patrick. He looks just like him. I don't know how NECA does it. I mean, at the scale, at the price, I don't know how they're able to pull off what they pull off. But it's awesome. It's almost like magic. Boss Fight Studios Vitruvian Hacks line. This line is just unlike anything at this scale that we've ever had before. I love it. I'm glad that I got to, you know, get some of these figures. Thank you, TJ347. These figures just are well done. They're so diverse. They're colorful. Even though some of the, you know, the figures have the same parts, it's still amazing what they've done with these figures. And then there's Steno. This figure, for me, she just puts it, you know, in perspective. but there's so much done right. I mean, the anatomy on the figures are so on point that this right here is a tool to show people what you're missing out on with your Joes, the way Hasbro makes Joes these days. They can't do basic shit like this, you know, and they should be, because that's what they're for. The Gorgons, you got a nice variety of people for your, you know, your various troops to fight and whatnot. And you have so many different types of troops, you know, and figures that you could just keep building on. Not to mention the custom potential. I was able to finish a kit bash by utilizing one of the pieces that's afforded to me from the line, you know what I mean? It's just a very versatile line. One of the most versatile lines I've ever, you know, taken part in. And I love it. I'm over the moon with these figures, man. Like, I can't wait for more, you know, and if they do another Kickstarter, I will be a part of that because, I mean, they deserve it. Look at this, it's quality. This is what we need in this scale. Mafex Amazing Spider-Man 2 Spider-Man. This is the basic edition, not the deluxe. This figure is pretty dope. I know people have had issues with Mafex, and some people just want to hate because it's Mafex and people have had issues, but I've had this figure for a while now. I got him early in the year, and he's been in the background for a long time. It's just a quality figure, man. It's so much fun. Okay, number 3 is a 3-way tie. SH Figuarts Age of Ultron Captain America, which you know I was waiting for a long time. It was easily one of my favorite figures, but I also got Ultraman and the special edition Ultraman Zafi. That's my favorite Ultraman, besides, you know, the Ultraman. And I was really happy to get those guys, and I play with them so much, just as much as I play with Cap. And then, of course, there is the Figuarts Bruce Lee, which it's probably the best figure of the bunch because he's kind of sublime, but they're all just easy figures to play with. You know, the Cap is probably the most complicated one because the shield doesn't quite lend itself to simplistic just pick up and play. You kind of have to commit to some fiddling around with some stuff. But I mean, the Bruce Lee figure, of all the 3, he's probably the easiest to play with next to, I guess, him and Ultraman are equally easy to play with. Nah, his joints are easier. But anyway, I've played with these guys so much, you know, posed them, pick them up and pose them, change things, put them up against different characters. They're just really fun to play with, and I could not decide which one of the 3 would take the spot. So I was like, you know what? It's my show, 3-way tie, end of story. But this Bruce Lee figure is definitely worth the buy. Now we have another 3-way tie, and it's kind of funny because it's all the same character. Last year I got a lot of Kamen Rider #1, aka Ichigo. His movie came out that year. And the movie was alright. It was there were some awkward moments, but it was an alright movie. But I managed to get my hands on this classic style Ichigo with his bike, the Cyclone, and I managed to get my hands on the new school Kamen Rider #1 from the film, which I still haven't reviewed yet. The review is in the works. You'll probably be seeing that in the next couple months. This figure is beautiful, and it does so much right that it's hard for me to, it was really hard for me to not put this at #1. The figure's beautiful, the paint, everything is immaculate. No issues, nothing is a problem. Even with those big ass shoulder pads, those big football shoulder pads, still super fucking posable. They move out of the way, they got their own articulation. There's no slop anywhere. No engineering, you know, jack-ups or whatever. Nothing is wrong with this figure. He even looks better in this scale than in the film. Like the shape of the suit, because he looks super bulky in the film. This looks more like a muscular, you know, body. Then I picked up the SIC Shin Ichigo, which is a reimagining of the old school Ichigo that I showed you, which was the first one, but in this awesome, you know, SIC, super detailed, almost horror movie-ish kind of style. And I fucking love it. This figure just has so much character. He's just so badass, and he just exudes power. And that's one of the things I love about the SIC line, is that the figures exude power. They make the American superheroes just look like crap, you know, in comparison. They make them look like little, you know, kids' playthings, you know what I mean? Because you look at this, they just took that design I showed you earlier, you know, a couple lines back, and they turned him into almost a monstrous hero, you know? I love it. These guys are so badass. It's just ridiculous. You guys should jump on this line. And now we got some honorable mentions before we get to my #1 most fun figure of 2016. Star Wars Black Series. Every single Black Series figure that I came across last year, I've had so much fun with. It's an awesome line. Figma Leonidas. Beautiful figure. There's just something that's a little off, and I don't like complex shields. The shield was just annoying to mess with. But it's just a beautiful looking figure. Well done, you know? The paint is awesome on that figure. NECA's Pacific Rim figures. The Ultimate figures and some of the old school ones. They're just fun figures. They just had QC issues, so I couldn't give them a higher spot. Motu Classics, Sorceress or Vina Grayskull, Queen Grayskull. Beautiful figure, but she fell prey to Mattel's QC curse, and that's what makes her come in where she does. And this one hurt my heart because, you know, you can see I like this figure. I took a lot of pictures, but wait till you get up on her and you see what they did wrong. Same thing that happened with Mira. Jacked up eyes, man. So it didn't work for me. I still love the figure. Then we have Nathan Drake, NECA's Nathan Drake. It's Ultimate Nathan Drake from Uncharted 4. Love Uncharted. I love this figure. I just couldn't really put him above everyone else because he's a little plain in comparison to what my favorite figure was of last year. And now for my favorite figure of last year. It's the Makai Kado Garo figure. This is the 10th anniversary edition. I missed out on Garo the first time around 10 years ago or 8 years ago, something like that. So I had been watching the prices just skyrocket on these guys, and I just was like, fuck it, I'm not going to do it. And then finally, you know, I'm sitting there marveling at all this detail and all this awesome paint and the articulation and all that good stuff, and I finally was able to get one. And I have to say that this is, you know, keeping in tradition with my love for knights. It's one of the best knight figures out there, period. Everything about this figure just kind of puts everything else to shame. He's the perfect size and height, you know, so you believe it's a guy in armor. His articulation, even with the armor, shits all over figures with less details, less pieces, and, you know, that are supposed to be well articulated. I mean, there's some Marvel Legends that can't do the stuff that this figure can do. So, you know, I have to give credit where it's due. There's just piece for piece, pound for pound, there's just so much detail on this figure, and you didn't lose anything to achieve all that detail, and I wish other companies would take heed. But I love this one. It's my #1. If you can find him for an affordable price, pick him up. I mean, that's all there is to it. You won't be sorry. And that is it for me. Thanks for checking out my best and worst of 2016. We got more good stuff for you, and we hope you stick around so you can check it out. I've been collecting all kinds of stuff. My review space looks like a mess because I've got so many damn figures on there. Got some stuff from Shapeways. Got some more Marauder stuff on the way. I've got some G.I. Joe Collectors Club and Transformers Collectors Club stuff to review. Not that stuff that I actually went out and bought, because you know I'm against those things, but people sent them to me, so I'm going to check those out for you guys. You know, the usual quality random stuff that you can expect from me on my channel. So yeah, stick around. There's going to be all kinds of crazy shit in store for you guys, and probably in store for me this year, you know. But before I close this video, I'm doing a giveaway. I have a one of the 50th anniversary figures that I have an extra one of, and I figure I'm going to give it away. Pretty much we have Heavy Duty here with all his gear, and all I need you to do is comment on this video, and I will choose one of you guys at random, and when I let you know who you are, just give me your information, and he's all yours. So that's it for me. Once again, thank you guys. You've been great, and I will see you on the next video. Peace outside.